Allspark itself! What is that? Staring at the view, Starsman could not believe his optical receptors, though every component of his being was functioning normally. What he was seeing and running through his logic sensors made absolutely no sense. Barricade was focused intently on his console, collecting and valuing the various scans picked up by the Nemesis multitude of external sensors. It appears to be a small Decepticon ship of Decepticon design, he declared, but is not one of ours. Not only does it emit any standard recognition values, it does not emit very much anything at all. I didn't ask you what it appears to be, you fool, Starscream snarled. I can see it for myself, what it looks like. I asked what it is. I'm scanning it now, Barricade replied hastily. It is clearly a vessel of some kind of, but its design is odd. One might almost call it unique, primitive. Scanner specifically the absence of anything resembling a normal life form. That caused Starscream to hesitate. What do you mean, normal? Barricade contemplated the information that was rapidly filling his monitors. Although there are no Cybertronian being on board, there are no indicators of another kind of life form. No Megatron, Starsky had realized. Don't be obtuse. What kind of life form? Placing the question on hold, which often when it suited him, Barricade continued with his analyst. There is something else, something incurrently familiar with the overall design. What about it? The Decepticon was unsure. I cannot say it's ignorance. Scans have now verified the class has been permanent space visual for related Decepticon design. My first thought it was result of the might be called the parallel evolution in engineering. It's almost like something we ourselves might be created if we have evolved with significant physical and mental differences. That is not a specific scientific explanation, Starsky with impatience threatened to terminate the dialogue altogether. We have not come all this way in the service of gathering irrelevant information. As long as the craft process not to threat us, then it is hardly worth taking the time to evaluate. Though I confess to a certain modicum of curiosity. Therefore, I restate my earlier query. If not Cybertronian, then what kind of life form do occupy the vessel? Their specific makeup unfamiliar to our analysts, Burkett explained. There are no record of the particular species of our databanks. He looked over at his leader. Though an unusual occurrence to be sure, the given the vast nature in the universe, it is not unexpected that we should occasionally encounter the ship of another space-going species very different from ourselves. Any not-Cybertronian intelligent symbol interstellar is child potential threat. Blackout had re-entered the bridge. I say we integrate whatever they are, and their puny ship and move on. We have more important things to do than waste time investigating core mysteries. That was more or less what Starscream had already said. The fact that it has been emphasized by Blackout, however, meant that in order to reclaim the internet for himself, Starscream felt compelled to order the opposite. And I say we will investigate it until we are certain what are we dealing with. Once we have we're certain that its unknown species truly pose a threat, then we will destroy their vessel and resume our search. Blackout appeared ready to argue the point, but wisely demurred. As you command, Starscream. I thought the proper examination could not be conducted at distance. Who will lead the expedition from the Nemesis? I will, Starscream replied without hesitation. You, Barricade and Frenzy, will accompany me. I value your input. The best way to reduce the threat from potential rival we knew was to co-pilot him. Latterly was unuseful and cheap. The rest of you, the crew, will continue on the station, monitoring the area for any apparently unsettling surprise. Then we should probably hold off leaving the ship and commencing the proposed study. Burkett was more alert than his instruments. Why? Starscream made no attempt to conceal his irritation. Given an Arnold assigned construction of the vessel, I am confident these unknown beings pose no threat of us. I am sure that they do not, Burkett agreed. He enchants the image of the main view screen, but they do. A stellar distortion appeared to be a distance beyond the small craft they had been examining. Something massive, artificial, and delicately sophisticated design was materializing. Starscream cursed to himself as he recognized menace. There is no mistaking its lines, or the very real threat it represented. No, no Decepticon possessing a hit of spark could fail to recognize the arc. Autobot, the particular little alien vessel, was immediately forgotten. Barricades, time snap maneuver. They are processing the emergency normal space. It may be their sensors have not resolved yet. We have a chance to surprise them. Active on station, Jazz was monitoring the same functions that were required the full undivided attention of a highly trained human engineers, who would have not understood the operational elements involved anyway. Emergency on emergency status on skills very good. Very good. Optimus was starting at the main viewer. Let's have a look at what we see if we can figure out was emitting that optical signal. The source itself, within range of the optical receptor's output on my main viewer. My main viewer, Ratchet voice came through the ship, come to the bay. We we come out close as good as could be realized. Image, imagery distant was replaced by a view of an uncertainly small vessel, and curiosity was Ironhead who offered the first opinion. That's Decepticon design, he declared. I'm sure of it. No, wait. The internal data conflicted the vessel he was receiving. No, I'm not sure. I speculate. Jazz, what is your latest form of our sensors? Optimus asked. There are no questions on the objects of our sensors about signal. Ironhide is right. It does resemble something from the Decepticons who were put it together, but they made them term as resemble. But most uncertainly, the standard of Decepticon design, he checked his readouts. And the materials, he presumed the construction technology entirely designed. Wherever it is, I do not originate any form of Cybertron. Are you certain? Optimus asked, fascinated at a mystifying object. 99.87%, Jazz replied. It's extremely, it's extremely primitive, but I might inject a personal opinion. I do not believe a vessel of Shelby construction could possibly survive an attack away from former Cybertron. It was not a Decepticon, Russ, and it was not a Cybertronian. Then what are we dealing with here? I am anxious. I'm anxious, as you know, Jazz. Jazz replied vigorously. My instructional procurement sense cannot be good. However, my superpotential internal similars, it is clear that something undeserved. Nothing good comes over comes anything else associated with them. Ogma's pounders hard as he completed the blathering image on the view screen. The longer the conundrum lingered above his eyes and his mind, the more encounter began to feel like a trap. At the same time, it seems it's a little too obvious to be a Decepticon maneuver. In any case, it will not do harm to exercise normal caution. Maintain distance, Ratchet. If you should angle towards us, take us out of weapons range immediately. We'll have a closer look, but only with the arc at a safe distance. Bowmy nodded in excitement. Have all those confirmed the ship? Yeah, except for Mouse, seeing Optimus staring reprovingly in this direction. He gives a robotic equivalent of a shrug. I begged a moment consideration. Optimus. Arne kept up a lot to himself. He was not afraid to speak out when he felt there was nothing that needed to be said. You're intending to leave the Ark for the purpose of the construction and the exploration of that thing? What source of that signal it's generating? It's clearly not the Allspark, proceeded to detect. We should probably just leave it alone and move on. He intended the object on a view. As observed, the insignia like that, after drifting alone out there, makes no sense unless it's some kind of snarl. Perhaps it is, Optimus concealed it. I have already considered the possibility, but I feel that we should take a closer look anyway. His occasional dry humor came from the fore. It is not that we don't have time. There is something similar about this. Something most similar. That this fancy nags at me. The might be might be able to unravel the I can be guilty if we investigate further. You and I, Bumblebee, will go. Jazz and Ratchet will stay with the ship. Op- Optimus! Ratchet's voice sounded clear on the bridge. Whistling. All four Autobots in the bay were attentive to the voice of their compatriot. Analysts have conducted to a new two new factors, Ratchet continued. The first one was apparently our life forms of some kind of unidentified vessel, life forms whose activities so unfair that I can concern them. Hint at intelligence, albeit limited. More importantly, they are not in our database. And the second revelation, Optimus required. It does not appear in some material capabilities, Ratchet informed him. How do you know that? Ironhide asked. Its appearance is wholly incarnate. Not anyone, Jazz pointed towards the central viewer. It has begun to develop a clearly weaponry of some kind of compacted warship. All optics look on the main screen as the interior of the placerized little alien ship begin to unveil some primitive defense system. Though clumsy and slow, the procedure itself was unmistakable, as we were the weapons that began to reveal themselves in the process. I knew it was a trap, Ironhide exclaimed. Autobots, prepare for battle. A disappointed Optimus ordered. Jazz, join Ratchet. The two of you kept the arc shape. Until our return, Bumblebee, Ironhide, come with me. Rolling, rolling. We headed for the core egress. If they're going to have a fight, they better do so far away as possible for their sole means of returning home. Captain, wake up! Damn it! Thompson was yelling, blinking, feeling every muscle in his body stretched in protest of a sudden movement. Walker cracked it open his lids and stared up at his pilot. What is the matter? He asked dumbly, like a drunk coming out of a bad hangover. What's our status? I'm still trying to figure out our details, but without getting overly technical, I think I can safely say that can't be good. Thompson pointed forward, gazing at the port Walker saw that was arguably an artificial construct. Whether it was some kind of ship, he could not tell. Certainly he looks nothing like a ghost, like the ghost. At risk of anthropomorphizing, he came up to the snap decision. The object was at the very least of the little threatening. Better than he decided to be safe than sorry. Holy mother, I think we better activate the defense system. Get these others up. Dawson nodded. Moving fast, he rushed through the cabin, walking the rest of the crew. Walker couldn't hear them muttering behind him, struggling out of sleep. Defense system, defense system. No, like nothing that had never been built on Earth. Working fast, Walker fought all the recall as many details as possible from the complex system, as he hoped that he would never be engaged. His fingers keyed to the bank of controls set off on one side. When he felt like he had done everything that was required, there remained one last command to be entered, and keeping with the best that security engineer could devise. It employed superior unavailable voice recognition technology. Walker Samuel L., Captain Commanding. He spoke clearly and distinctly into the backup, tried as he still was. This was no time to slur his words. Authorization, Gamma 6 Alpha, defense system, activation. The ship's permanent artificial intelligence replied without wavering. Walker Samuel L. Captain Commanding recognized the fast station will be deployed to receive final authorization code. Walker rubbed his eyes, momentarily worried that he might not be able to recall the necessary sequences. It had not been a priority because no one had easily expected it would ever have been ultralized. Then it came to him. Authorization code 0911 Delta Whiskey Bravo. Command authorization code accepted. The LA responded eventually. Crew prepared for weaponry system deployment. Walker turned and scanned the cabin. Is anyone okay back there? Yeah, where are we? Clarkson's voice was a suffocating mush, as if he were trying to walk as his dog suffered in his mouth. What's going on? He sat forward slowly. Are we headed back to Earth? Not exactly, Walker told him. Jake, get back up here. I want you to control while we're undergoing the system adjustment, or whatever the hell is going to happen. He might have operated a full manual. You got it, Thompson told him to be resume at his seat. But I wish I knew what was going to have to operate it. I've got a minute or two to figure everything out, Walker informed his co-pilot. Just get us the hell away from that. From behind, he heard the other gasp and he saw a massive alien artifact. Burgess swore quietly in Spanish. Walker would ask for a translator later. Any lingering investigative sleepiness had vanished from his mane. Look at the structure, General outlines overall configuration. Avery analyzed the oncoming object might have been quick, but it was well considered. It looks like an Iceman relatives, big ones. Thompson checked his readout. Weaponry systems are online. Everybody be ready. Then abolish them. I know we're all here. I don't know what is going on, but we need to prepare to talk or fight, however the situation dedicates. His tone was sullen. The Iceman wouldn't have been equipped with weapons if we hadn't fight for a need for them. The implication that was at least occasionally expected to fight. Fight what? To teach folk were never able to establish. He indicated an enormous object now dominated the view forward. Maybe that's it full of his friends, or maybe it packed it with his enemies. Not knowing if he qualified the first or the second, we will have to be ready to be seen as one or the other. There's a third choice, Clarkson pointed out. We could run for it, running away an option. Get a beat up a lot in high school, did you? Thompson commented. Where do we run through? If we just take off wildly, we may never get back or to where we are now. And while we don't have where we are going now, we do not know what is at the end of a vector that one way or another leads back to Earth. Run from it now, and we might never find it again. He turned to Walker. Weapon system are yours, Captain. Understood. Walker's tone was grim. All unique apparatus on the ship, a combination of human and alien-based weaponry, was the last he thought he could never actually be expected to activate and operate. I hope we're not going to need them. Tom, looks like we got a slight problem. Kenner looked from the mission report, and he was receiving and crooked an eyebrow at the figure of the lieutenant colonel standing in the doorway. Nolan was the mission director of the Sector 7 space program, and the only staff member was a base who felt comfortable addressing Kenner by their first name. He had been together in the service for a long time. Over the years, the two men had eared and earned others' deep respect. An early need for formality and had been dropped during the finally hazardous backups program in the jungles of the Southeast Asia. Broad-shouldered, heavy-as hair tinting the gray in the waistline toward the equator, Norland was no longer a man felt comfortable jumping out of the chopper 100 feet above the water in full scuba gear. His first few years has been spent driving into nothing deeper than a desk drawer, and it was starting to show, though the man regularly made light of the change. At heart, Kinnear did not approve of those who everly suffered from the concerted phase, especially those in the military, where it was reasonable to accept more exacting standards to apply. Personally, he could not rationalize just weakness, not when he has been doing a few sit-ups each morning, might one day mean a difference between life or death. Nolan looks especially sloppy today. He made mental note to speak about it later with the man. Bill, this is Sector 7. We never have slight problems. Kenner ran a hand through his hair. Its too was in better shape than Nolan's. What do you got? Trouble with Ghost One. Nolan's growth and happiness was personal as well as professional. At one time, another, he had worked closely with everyone who was presently on board the ship. It could be a communication glitch, but with the tech, don't think so. If, so every minute that passes, we don't hear from Gonzalez. They're more and more convinced of it, and they don't want to be. Chandler looked at the clock on the wall and then turned back uh, to a stack of papers on his desk, suffering through them until he found the one he wanted. The stats pursued only confirmed what Nolan was telling them. They should have been re-establishing communication almost an hour ago, right? Actually, they were service segment put them back in effortless, effective range nearly 2 hours ago. But we haven't heard a beep. Kimura's lip tightened. Like I said, not a slight problem. Okay, I was understanding. Call it a wishful thinking. Nolan indicated a paper his friend was holding. Everyone's trying to not to overreact it. It could be simple programming problem or circularity. There is a couple of 100 years worth of advances picked up into Ghost One. We're not even sure what is all of it does. Some instrument could be working with at cross purposes, or maybe somewhere near the circuit that didn't close. Simple, basic, but enough to shut down communication as effectively as someone deliberately represented the main antenna. He waved his hands. It could be many number of things, but the techs don't think so. Canberra mumbled softly. No, they're already postulating that maybe something went badly wrong at the end of the first burn, or maybe during it. For example, despite the ship's advanced radiation shielding, if it took a hard enough hit from an unpredicted solar flare, that might have been enough to fry the communications. He shrugged it off. Of course, that's what the communication techs are saying. They clearly want to blame engineering guys, and the engineering team. Nolan managed to doleful smile. They're saying it's probably a communication problem. Some things can't be changed, even most advanced technological development. You're a mission director. What's your opinion, Bill? The other officer picks the bridge with a nose and closes his eyes. Right now, I'd say it's about 50-50. We just don't know enough to make an accurate determination the way or the other. Why am I not surprised? Kelliher held up a hand. Don't answer that, okay? So the only thing we do know is at the point that his Ghost 1 should have been back at range and re-established communication approximately 2 hours ago. That's correct. Nolan concealed it. What about the alien raging beacon? Looking downcast, Nolan shook his head. That is not good enough, Kellner turned pleading. Bill, I just can't call the old man and tell him that the ship is missing, blowing up, sunscreen, of course that I can convey that, but missing. You know as well that I do that we need more than that. Nolan sighed heavily. I know, Tom. We're looking around the clock. We should have some updated reports for you within the next hour. Of course, we will keep trying to raise them on audio. I know, I know. Do your best. Suddenly the Caribbean was looking as far away as one of the seas on Mars. Anything else? That's everything. For now, Nolan managed a hopeful smile. I'll keep you informed. Bill, you, you've got to reestablish the context with that ship. Tell me something I don't know. We'll find it, Tom. I'm sorry. I wasn't up here with better news. Chandler gestured for him to leave. So am I. Go find us some. Nolan added before turning and exiting the room. He was moving more quickly than Tom had seen his old friend move in quite a while. The door shut behind the other officer, and Kilner was alone again. Usually, he enjoyed his solitude. Not now, not anymore. So much for getting through these last couple of months without a hitch. In the stillness of his office, he tried to conjure optimism. It was far too soon to give in to the despair, unless The ship has actually been caught by the fallen into the sun. Ghost 1, I still out there was still out there somewhere, hopefully suffering nothing more than serious than a malfunction of radical new communicator's gear. He allowed himself a private shudder. If it was hard on him and the others at the base, one could only imagine what effect the complete lack of contact with Earth was having on the ship's crew, professional and highly trained though they were. It was too quiet office in the office, big enough for walkie-talkie laying on his desk. He dialed in the frequency, Lieutenant Jansen. A brief cackle of static then. Yes, sir. Kellner here. Come up to my office, please. I want a status report on your section. Yes, sir. I'm on the way. Another crackle of the static. One more prologue and irritating. Kellner grunted. They could research engineer alien science build a spaceship that, among the things, were capable of transmitting a signal location across millions of miles of an empty space. Not to mention that the same vessel was also incorporated a remote guidance system and the other animals from the Iceman, but they couldn't come up with a portable radio that eliminates static. Not for the first time, the found himself wondering about the sometimes weird rose scientists tripled down I mean, the system they made, which ideas to develop, which to ignore. The, sh- the sharp breath of boots on a material staircase that lead to his office brought him back to the present. The rap of the door was as perfect and praised as everything else about Jansen. Come in, Lieutenant. She entered, halting as a perfect parade of the rest in front of the desk. A little too formal for Kendall's taste, though the colonel would hardly upbraid the main man for being military. At least, Lieutenant, take a seat. You must be worn out. From all that I can tell, your team has been run, running nonstop. Yes, sir. We're a bit agitated, sir. Jason sat down in the padded gray metal chair in front of the desk. You requested a status report. Kellner nodded. Something to take his mind off the communicator ghosts. We were are all with the Iceman. Everything's on track, moving along fairly as well. We're actually slightly ahead of the schedule, and the methodology for keeping him frozen while the transit appears to be working as advertised. I can tell you that the tech staff is delighted. Actually, we're due to load him onto the transport approximately 30 minutes from now. As soon as the ship is complete, the insulated panels will be raised and sealed around him. Any problems? Nolan inquired hesitatingly. Not that I wanted there to be any. It has been a rough day as it is. Jason nodded. I know, sir. Word has gone around. As to my section, nothing adverse in report. I'm aware of it at this time. When this time comes to move out, however, there is a chance weather may become a factor. You've seen the last latest reports? Candler pointed at a stack of papers on his desk containing good news, bad news, all the news. Yes, I got them. Possibility of a storm. Not that any kind of surprise up here. At the moment, they're forecasting that the low is going to move north to our location. With luck, I'll miss the coast certainly. Hopefully, sir, Jason agreed. But we'll keeping an eye on it. Just the same, worry has unusual changing ability. Maybe one day we'll have the satellite system sufficient to keep track of all the storms that race to up here. Don't count on it, Kilner muttered. Keep it closely informed of your progress from here on out. Will you? I'd have enough surprises for one day. I don't need any more. Jason chuckled, then realized that the colonel was not being funny. No, I suppose not. But however, much we've disliked them, it seems there are always surprises. Kilner supported. Maybe the next time will turn out to be pleasant. Thank you, Lieutenant. You're dismissed. Yes, sir. Resumed Jackson, snapping quickly into salute before piping on his knee and heading on for the door. Hard to fault the man for being disciplined. Kilner told himself better than a lot of truly passionate sneaking death sitters had been encountered over the years. He made a quick note to himself. If everything involving operating Iceman went smoothly, Jason was most likely going to earn himself a promotion. Make a fine commanding officer, too, he muzzled Jason. He was the smartest to do it. Even if he's still only a lieutenant, had something held him back? Candor struggled into irrelevant thought aside. In his spare time, he could request a look at younger officer records. In his spare time, right, resuffering the papers on his desk, he turned his full attention back to the Ghost One documents. The ship had to be out there somewhere, didn't it? The small moon was just more a part of what was a normal solar system. The world is oriented and held on to the atmosphere, of sort, so did several of the other 12 planets that circled the unnamed sun to the unremarkable section of the galaxy, unimaginable distance from Earth. The moon itself was dead and airless. That did not mean it was utterly useless to certain visitors. Hovering near the satellite equator among high mountains with these craters, Nemesis drifted with the lifeless gray sphere as Starscream and his fellow Decepticons gathered the ship's enormous bridge. They looked up on the puzzlement as the instant little alien vessel began to blister with primitive weaponry. Even while the Ark and the Autobots began to back away from it. No one spoke until a blackout promoted it's definitely Cybertronian. Those primitive creatures may have some knowledge of Megatron's whereabouts. If his eyes had not been fixed in his head, we very well might be right in it. Everyone responded at once, confused voices filling the chamber. Despite raising the sense of panic, Starscream did his best to stay calm. Do you have a black ball on your logic circuits?